no matter what background people come from, no matter what nationality they are, no matter where you find them in the world, no matter who they are, all men, all women have one thing in common. That one thing in common, all people are eventually going to die. Solomon deals with the subject of death 8, 9, 10 times in the book of Ecclesiastes. And right now we want to focus on one of the first times in chapter 2, beginning at verse 12. And here, although it doesn't initially sound like he's talking about death, it's where he's going with this particular paragraph. In fact, he says, beginning at verse 12, "So I turned to consider wisdom and madness and folly. For what can the man do who comes after the king?" Of course, he is king. He's thinking about the next generations. What are they going to do? And then he says, he can only do that which has already been done. Then I saw that there is more gain in wisdom than in folly, as there is more gain in light than in darkness. The wise person has his eyes in his head, but the fool walks in darkness. And yet I perceived that the same event happens to all of them. Then I said in my heart, what happens to the fool will happen to me also. Why then have I been so very wise? And I said in my heart that this also is vanity. For of the wise as of the fool there is no enduring remembrance, seeing that in the days to come all will have been long forgotten. How the wise dies just like the fool. So, his conclusion about that? So, I hated life, because what is done under the sun was grievous to me, for all is vanity and striving after the wind. As you look at this text and you read what he says here, he comes to this conclusion that life was just awful. He hated life. You see, he's looking at the certainty of death, but again, he's only looking at it under the sun. He's not looking at life after death. He's only focusing in this text on what life is about here and now. And eventually there will be no here, there will be no now, but there is somewhere else that all mankind is headed. And the focus is not on that. And that's why he hated this life, because this life does have its share of problems and issues. The deal is that only the man who is ready to live and prepared to live is also prepared to die. But you know what else about that? Only the man who is prepared to die is only the man who is prepared to live. Solomon was not ready to die. He couldn't handle it. He wasn't thinking about what happens after death, past this earth. He was only focused on what happens after death on the earth. Be ready to live, but be ready to die. And when you get both of those straight and you get both of those right, life is full of meaning.